Where is the answer? Okay. Let me know once you guys are able to see my screen. I'm sharing my screen. Awesome. Yeah. So yesterday we were discussing about that database customizations, how we can have an extended column, how we can have an custom table and all stuff. So today we'll spend a couple of minutes on understanding what exactly is the hang of table and how that can be created or whatever it is. Okay. Yeah. So hang of table is basically a table which can be created or which we need to create an existing table. Like for example, you have YFS order header, that is an existing table, and if you want a extra table to be created for that particular table, you can create a hang of table which is a parent child relationship. Like for example, YFS order header and YFS order line. So today if you see, those two are parent child in Sterling. So if you see distributed order management, YFS order header table, okay, and YFS order line table, they are parent and child. And if you see in YFS order header key is the primary key. In YFS order header key is the foreign key. So basically, primary key of the table will become foreign key for this table. So that is how the what do you call the relationship between any two tables would be created. So likewise, in order to create any hang of table for existing out of the box table, you can use this particular hang of table, and it is like more or less, or I can say 99% similar to how you create an custom table, but there is a slight difference. Let us see what it is. So this particular table extn additional data is an hang of table for YFS order line. So basically I want to store some extra information related to an order line. So in order to store the extra information related to an order line, I'm using this particular extn additional data. And when we see here, it has more or less the same thing. You have API needed is equal to y, audit required is equal to n, and all stuff. Description, everything seems to be similar to what we have for our custom table. And after that, coming to the attributes, these are all the columns which we have for this particular table. Here also you can see these columns are kind of mandatory for any table you create in Sterling, as we discussed yesterday. And as part of this particular table, we are going to have these four attributes. This is our primary key, and you can see I'm using the foreign key also, like just to understand which record in hang of table is related to the parent table. I should know, right? Like, I mean, if you see YFS order header table, you have YFS order header key. If you go to YFS order line, there also you have YFS order header key. Why? Because to show the relationship between both the tables. So the similar way, I have given order line key here, and I just have two columns, something like code and text. This is just taken randomly. There is no what you call logic or business. Just for example, we have taken that, and this is something which is a little different from the custom table. What it is? So whenever you are creating the primary key, it is same. Like even yesterday when we were creating the ext and person info, there also you have the primary key. It is also same, but the only difference between custom table and hang of table is this particular tag of element, that is parent. So whenever you are creating a hang of table, we have to mention who is the parent for that particular hang of table. So here you can see I have mentioned the parent as parent table name as YFS order line, parent XML name is YFS order line, column name is order line key, and parent column name is order line key. So with this, they will be able to understand which particular table is the parent table and which particular column is the foreign key. Okay, so this is the only difference between a hang of table and custom table. So otherwise, like everything is same. You can directly what you call use however we were using the other custom table and custom column creation. Any doubts, guys?
Okay.
Okay, great. So let us jump into our next topic, the payment processing. Just a second. Yeah. Coming to our next topic, the payment processing. Okay. So how to start? Yeah. In general, whenever we place an order in Amazon or Flipkart, what we do, we directly place an order and we pay the amount upfront. I mean, like the minute you place the order, they will ask you to pay the amount. And once the amount is paid, then only it is called as order successfully created. But there is, okay, otherwise, there is one more option. You can do cash on delivery. Cash on delivery is something where you can place the order, and once the product reaches your home, you will pay the amount accordingly. So these are the two different kinds of payment methods or payment models which are available currently in India. That is paying upfront, and the second thing is paying after reaching home. But in Western countries like UK, US, and European countries, this particular culture is not there. Okay. For example, we are placing an order in US. Like for example, we have Walmart or we have Amazon there also in US. Sorry. Amazon, they have something called as Target. They have something called as what else they have? I don't know. Okay, Best Buy and all stuff. Okay, so whenever they are placing orders in this particular website, how it happens is they have to provide their payment details. What is meant by payment details? Things like our credit card number, our CVV, okay, our address, I mean like payment address, our name, details, and so on. Okay. After giving all these details during the order creation, the order will be placed in sterling, and the minute order is placed in sterling, once the order is created, what they will do something called as authorization. This is done before scheduling. What is meant by authorization? Authorization is nothing but, for example, somebody has placed an order for $100. So authorization is nothing but checking or blocking this $100 of amount from that particular credit card or debit card or account or whatever it can be. Okay, so they will do something called as authorization. So basically this is kind of an how to say, like for safety, somebody has placed an order. How will we know that, okay, after delivering the product to that particular person or after processing the order for that particular person, how will we know whether that particular person is having their enough amount or not? So in order to avoid the last minute surprises, they will do this particular authorization. And whenever they do this authorization, that particular amount will be blocked in his or her credit card, debit card, or account. So, what is meant by making authorization? Sterling order management system will be invoking external system, and this external system can be any payment gateway. It can be any payment gateway. So what they will do, like for example, what is meant by payment gateway? Payment gateway can be kind of an uh, integration point between any external system to the respective banking system. Like for example, I have an HDFC credit card, and whenever you are trying to invoke the HDFC, like or else use the HDFC credit card in any of the websites, I'll not be using, like whenever I select HDFC credit card, it will not redirect me to the HDFC bank page. Instead, it will take me to some random page which is called as an payment gateway. So OMS will invoke that particular payment gateway with certain input. Okay, that input will contain all this information. Like it can be credit card number, CVV, address, name, what is the amount we are going to block. All those stuff will be present. And once we invoke that particular external system, they will send a response which has something called as authorization date and authorization expiry date. Okay, and something called as transaction ID. A lot more information they will tell. So what is meant by this authorization ID? Sorry, authorization ID and auth expiry date and transaction ID. These are, like, I'm just talking about only the important attributes here. The implementation for different project varies, and in different projects you will see different kinds of an attributes. But these are some attributes where you will see in almost all the projects. So what is meant by this authorization ID? For example, Pawan has placed an order for $100, and in his account he has $1,000 in his account. So whenever an order is placed, out of this $1,000, I am doing authorization for $100. That means that I am blocking $100 for the order whatever he has placed. In order to do that, we make this particular authorization call to external payment gateway with certain input, and they will send a response. So why are we doing that and why are we getting the response? Because to process this particular order, it would take at least 3 4 days or 1 2 days. It can be more also sometimes. By the time our order is processed, what if he just uses all his $1,000, and during the shipping of that particular product, if he doesn't have any amount, then there is no point of processing his order. So that's why what we will do, we will block $100, and for that $100 we will get an ID. Okay, so it's something like an authorization ID. How can I say, it is something like kind of a reference number. Like, okay, for the $100 whichever we have blocked, for that particular $100 they will give some reference number. So a number can be of any digit. Okay, it can be what you call alphanumeric. And at the same time, for example, order is taking 1 month time to process, 2 month time to process, or sometimes 10 days, 11 days, 12 days. Or sometimes what happens, after taking the authorization ID, you will realize and see that okay, the inventory is not available. It will take more time, that this and all. In those kind of scenarios, we can't have this $100 blocked for lifetime. If we block this $100 for lifetime, Pawan will not be able to use it for any other purpose in his, like any other purpose to buy or something, whatever it is. In order to avoid that, every payment gateway system will have certain number of days as authorization expiry date. Like for example, if I do authorization today, that is on February 16th, the auth expiry can be something like February 22, something like a 6 days. I'm just telling this an example. In some projects it can be 6 days, in some projects it can be 5 days, 1 week, 10 days. It can be anything. It depends upon that particular payment gateway whichever we are dealing with. So the auth expiry is will be Feb 22. What does that mean? By February 50, 22, we have to process his order, because after February 22, the payment gateway system or the bank, they will release this $100 to Pawan. He can use that $100 for anything else. So for that reason, we have to process the order within the time limit, that is number of days as 5, 6, 7, whatever it is. But there is one more option also for us. If there is any situation where we need more time, more than this 6 days of time, and this authorization got expired, what we can do? We can do something called as reauthorization. It is nothing but you will again do a payment gateway call, you get the response, again you will have a new authorization ID, and again you will get 6 days of extra time. Okay, for suppose we have got this authorization. Okay, and like today we have got, that is on February 16th, we have got the authorization. And for suppose Pawan want to cancel his order on 18th February, that is like tomorrow or day after tomorrow. Somehow like he just felt that he don't want the product, and he want to cancel that particular order. So the minute he cancels the order, this particular $100 has to be freed up. I mean, like it has to be released so that he can use this particular $100 for something else. And whenever somebody cancels this particular order, we have to release this particular amount, that is called as reverse authorization or void authorization. Okay, so the minute any cancellation happens, we have to return that particular amount or release that particular amount back to the respective customer. So in that situation, what we will do? We will do something called as a reverse authorization or void authorization. So whenever we do this reverse or void authorization, that particular person will have his or her amount released and they can use that particular amount for anything else. So this is all about authorization. So as part of our payment, we have authorization, settlement. Okay, between authorization and settlement, we have invoice creation. So these are the three major things which we discuss as part of payment. And this is just kind of an high level information about authorization, how authorization is done, what are all the different agents, what are all the different servers, what are all the different configurations that we will see now. But before that, I want you guys to understand what is meant by authorization and what are all the different steps we follow in authorization. Let me know if we have any doubts before we proceed further. Guys, any doubts? Any doubts on authorization?
No, Pradeep.
So the order is created. Okay. Whenever the order is created, the payment status of the order will be in await authorization status. Okay. And normally, whenever the order is in created, the next step is scheduled. But this particular authorization we do before schedule. Okay. So that's why whenever the order is in created status, it will be having the payment status as await auth. And whenever it is in await auth, our payment agents will process the authorization and it will move to authorized status. Okay, so the minute any order is in authorized status, then that particular order will be eligible for schedule. Okay, so this particular authorization is done between scheduled and created status. Okay, and once the order is scheduled, we already know it will be going for released status, and after release, it will be shipment creation, and after shipment creation, it will be shipment shipped. So once the order is shipment shipped or order is in shipped status, many projects they will do the invoice creation at this particular point of time. What is meant by invoice creation? Invoice creation is nothing but calculating the total amount for that particular order, how much we have to charge for that particular order. You might have seen whenever you place an order in Amazon or Flipkart, once you have the product in your home, as part of that particular product box, whichever you get, there is one invoice label you will see. That particular invoice label will have all the information, like for example some taxes, some charges, what is the amount of the product, I mean like charge, what is the total amount of the product, how many quantity you are using, all those information will be present on that particular invoice label. So here what happens is basically they will generate a bill for the order. Obviously, we all know that while creating the order itself, the customer knows what is the total and all. But in order to process the order, I mean, like in order to deduct the amount from the customer, we need to have the invoice created. And there are certain implementations in many projects where the total amount of the order varies. Like, for example, I place an order for a 10 quantity, but in between I modified the order and I want two more quantity. Okay, that means the total will be 12 quantity. So the order total will be, sorry, the order total will be increased. And whenever the order total will be increased, the amount we have to charge the customer also increases. And there are scenarios where he will remove the quantity, it will reduce. And there are places where the shipping charges are not included during the order creation, whereas after the order is created, the shipping charges are included. So there are many reasons where the modification can be present on that particular order total. So that is the reason why we will have something called as an invoice creation. Okay, once the invoice creation happens, the system will know how much amount has to be deducted. Like, for example, initially the total amount is $100, but when the invoice is created, the total amount has become $110. Maybe some shipping charges or shipping taxes or some handling charges, something got increased. So now we have to take 10 more dollars from the customer. So the minute you create the invoice for $110, a $10 which is extra authorization is done. Okay, a $10 authorization is done for the customer. And once this particular $10 authorization is successful, now we will have authorization for $110 because earlier I have taken for $100, then I have taken for $10. So I'll have a total of $110 authorization. And now, based on this particular $110 authorization, we will do something called as settlement. Okay, settlement is nothing but again it is a call to the payment gateway. Okay, and here we are going to deduct the amount. While deducting the amount itself, we can't directly tell deduct $110 from this so and so customer. Whenever you are deducting that particular $110, you have to mention from where we have to deduct. I mean, like as part of which authorization ID. Because Pawan may have placed orders in multiple websites. Like in our website, he has placed $100 order. In some other website, he might have placed $100. Likewise, whenever an order is created, so and so particular amount is blocked. And whenever the amount is blocked, we call that is authorization. And whenever the authorization is done, we will get something called as authorization ID. That authorization ID is our reference. So you have to tell your reference number. Okay, based on the reference number, they will get to know how much amount is allocated, and they will deduct the amount from that particular from that particular amount which is blocked for this reference number, that is our authorization ID. So that is the reason why for doing settlement, authorization ID is mandatory. Okay, so this is the entire payment processing. That is, while order is getting created, we do authorization. Once the order is shipped, we will do invoice creation. Once the invoice is created, we will do settlement. So these are all the different flows which an order follows. Any doubts so far?
No, Pradeep.
Abhishek?
No, Pradeep.
So now let us talk about one more business scenario. Not always authorization is done in sterling. Okay, so here whatever we have discussed so far, the authorization is done in sterling. Okay, but there are certain websites where they do the authorization upfront, authorization in the website itself whenever the customer is placing the order. Okay, so when the order is getting created in sterling, by that time authorization will be available, authorization information will be available. So we will have the auth id, auth expiry, transaction id, and all the related information for that particular authorization will be provided as part of order xml. Okay, so that means that whenever the order is reaching sterling, at that time only authorization is already done in the front end website. And why do they do this? Because in order to identify, or in order to avoid the order cancellations after reaching the backend system, that it can be sterling. For example, I have placed an order and I don't have my money at all. So what the current system is doing, it takes my order, it goes to sterling, and in sterling, whenever it is in created status, then it will try to do the payment invocation and move the order to authorized status. But when I don't have money, this particular authorization will get failed and order will be cancelled or order will be put on hold or whatever it is. In order to avoid the situation where the order is created and after that it is cancelled or whatever it is, what I can do, I can get the authorization directly in the website, and if the authorization is failed, we will not create the order itself. So in order to do that, people are, some customers or some implementations have this logic where the authorization is already taken in the website. And once the order xml reaches, directly whenever it is in created status, at that particular point of time only it will have its payment status as authorized. So whenever the payment status is authorized, obviously no need of any payment agents doing the authorization, it will directly go to scheduled and all stuff. But for example, here also it's the same thing. Like for example, whatever the authorization we have taken in the website, if that particular authorization is failed, sorry, not failed, sorry, if that particular authorization is expired, then we have to do the same reauthorization and get a new authorization id for so and so extra time. If that particular order is cancelled after reaching OMS for any XYZ reason, then we have to do the reverse authorization and void auth. Okay, and the rest remains the same. That is order moving to schedule, release, shipment creation, invoice creation, settlement. These things remains same. Okay, this is one other business case scenario which I have seen in couple of implementations where the authorization is done in the front end system or in the website. This is all the functional information on the payment. Any doubts so far before I go into the technical information? What are all the configurations we do and what are all the uh, agents we have to implement? Guys, I want you guys to talk. This is a little important topic.
Okay, it's clear for me, Pradeep.
Pavan and Noor, how would you guys?
Yeah, clear, Paddy.
Well, in order to process an order, whenever the order is getting created, what would we need? We would need the payment details of that particular customer. And what kind of payment details it can be? card number, okay, card type and payment type, okay, CVV, and first name, last name, country, state, zip code, all that information we will take. Like basically I'll just add address. So payment types can be n number. Like I can use my credit card, I can use my debit card. Pawan may use his banking account, he can use his gift card, he can use his what do you call that, store value card and PayPal account. It can be anything. So payment type is nothing but what mode of payment you are going to do, whether it is a credit card, debit card, gift card, store value card, or you are using your account and all stuff. So in order to have the payment types or different payment types, we have to configure payment types in Sterling. Okay. And in order to follow certain rule, okay, what is meant by a rule? Some desired steps of procedure for any implementation. When the payment is processing, we were just telling the authorization is needed and authorization has to be done before scheduling, and reauthorization is needed, reverse authorization is needed. That is in the first scenario. In the second scenario, what are we telling? We don't need authorization because authorization is already done in the front end system, and I just need the settlement and invoice creation. Okay. In some projects, they don't do settlement also in Sterling order management system. They will have some external system doing the settlement. Only invoice will be done in our system, and we will send that invoice information to external system, and they will process the payment for us. So all different kinds of cases. So all these settings or all these options, we will have something called as payment rule. So payment rule is something which will tell when you need authorization, how many, whether you need authorization or not, whether you need settlement or not, and what we call when you want the reauthorization. Reauthorization is something which we do whenever the authorization is getting expired or whatever the reason it can be. And there are many other stuff like as part of the payment rule, we will see that particular configuration. And along with this, we would also mention something called as credit card type, or else I can say card type. Just now we were discussing, right? So we have something called as card type. What is meant by card type? Whether your card is Mastercard, Visa card, Amex card, okay, Discovery card. Like there are many different kinds of card types available in the market. So this part, this kind of card type information is also needed. We have to configure how many ever card types your website is processing, those many card types you have to configure. Okay. And one other thing, payment configurations at the organization level. So whenever you are placing an order for matrix, for that particular matrix, whether the payment processing is required or not, you can configure. And in order to process a payment for any customer, sorry, any organization, that organization has to be a seller. Okay. So we will see these configurations. These are the basic information in order to implement payments in any project. Okay. So now first let us see this particular organization config. Okay, sorry, I would have opened this. Uh, This particular payment types, payment rules, and card types, these things are configured in something called as SBC. Okay, SBC is nothing but Sterling Business Center. Did we guys discuss about anything like this? I mean, like, I don't remember at least. Abhishek, Pawan, did we discuss anything related to SBC? No, right?
No, brother.
Okay. So, okay, I remember mentioning that in the initial intro to OMS, like in that particular PPT where we have different applications. I have mentioned what is SPC. Okay, but we have not seen the UI and all. So SBC is something called as Sterling Business Center that is provided to the client or the customer who is having the Sterling implementation done in order to do certain configuration. Like for example, there is a product, XYZ product is present, and customer want to have that particular product in discount, or you want to increase the price of that particular product, or things related to this particular payment rules and all. So basically, SPC is something which will help the client, whoever is the client. Like for example, FedEx is my client. So FedEx business people will use this particular Sterling Business Center in order to control certain things. So for example, like just now we are talking about this payment rules and all, right? So if they think that okay, from tomorrow we are not going to provide services or take orders on the American Express card, so then they will remove this, or they want to include extra card type, they can do it. Okay, all those kind of things they can do. And for example, they want to add new product, they can do here. They want to, what you call, delete a product, they can do here. Like all those things, whatever we have for that particular business, they can do it here. And pricing, they have something called as a pricing rule, coupons, discounts on that particular item and all. But yeah, nowadays no one is using this SPC other than what you call, certain very limited projects are doing using these products, pricings, inventory and all in SPC. The only thing which every project is using this particular system setup, because there are certain configurations which we do here. Okay, like for example, related to call center, store, data upload, all those things. Now today we are going to talk about this particular payments, and this is what we were just discussing, the payment types. Payment type is nothing but whether it is credit card, debit card, customer account, store value card, or it is an PayPal, or whatever payment type you want to configure, you can configure here. And credit card types is nothing but what you call that, Mastercard, Visa card, and all stuff. Payment card types, oh no, this is Master and Visa card. And credit card types, I guess this I have never used. You can give anything, but what is meant for credit card type? I'm not getting any example. At least we have not used this thing earlier. Okay, leave it. I'll try to find what it is. And payment card types is nothing but like whatever we have just discussed, right? Visa card, Mastercard, whatever the other Amex card, Discovery card, and all stuff. Payment rule is nothing but whatever we have discussed, where whether you need authorization, whether you need reauthorization, whether you need settlement, and all stuff. But before coming here, for our organization, we have to enable payment. You have to do that as part of your participant setup. And here my organization is Matrix. So I have configured Matrix as buyer and seller. Okay, if you open your configurator, you will have matrix as only enterprise, and whenever matrix is only enterprise, it cannot have payment processing. So in order to have payment processing, you should have matrix as seller. You can see the minute I do seller, this payment processing required is coming. You can see that, right? So in order to have the payment, you should have the payment processing. Sorry, you should have the matrix as seller. So that is the reason why whenever I was configuring, I configured matrix as seller so that the payment processing required has come. Okay, and it is also expecting us to use or choose which payment rule to be used. Like for example, we get the payment rule ID in the order XML. If we don't get the payment rule ID, then there should be some default payment rule which should be followed. So that particular default payment rule has to be selected here. So these are the two configurations which we use or which we do as part of the organization configuration. Okay, one is the this is the basic configuration which is needed. If you don't use this payment processing required, then that's it. Like you are not going to have any payments for this particular organization. Even if somebody places an order, the payment will not be processed. So in order to have the payment processing done, you should have the you should have the organization as an seller. Okay, so that is the first configuration. And second thing is our payment rule. Let us go and see what is the payment rule. When you go to the payment rule, so if you have multiple payment rules, you can just name it and you can click search, you will get everything. Okay, but currently I have only one. It has opened like this, but whatever has opened, it is at the hub level, but I don't want it at the hub level. I want it at our matrix level. So if you see, ours is matrix incorporated. So for matrix incorporated, let us go to system setup, because payments is at organization level, it's not at the hub level. Hub is something which is kind of the complete topmost level of the organization hierarchy. So I don't want that level, I want it at the organization level. Under payments, you will have payment rules. So when you click search, here I have only one payment rule, that is matrix default payment rule. So if I want to create multiple payment rules, you can go to this create payment rule. Let us create one payment rule for us. Let us make it as matrix payment rule. Okay, and I can give whatever the description I have. The minute you click on save, it will give certain other things. Merchant ID, you can give anything, some XYZ or whatever it is. Publish invoice at collection or at creation. So there is some concept, like whenever you generate an invoice, you have to send the invoice to external system. Like for example, my client is Apple, okay, and Apple is configured in Sterling Order Management System. In order to have Apple create their orders in Sterling Order Management System, we are implementing Apple in Sterling. But after order is processed, Apple should be notified what is the order we have processed and what is the amount we have collected for that particular order. Basically, this is for auditing purpose. So Apple as a company, they will have their own auditing done on all the invoices. I mean, like for example, today 100 orders are processed, and each order they have these many invoices, and as part of those invoices, this is the amount we have collected. So in order to have all that information at the Apple, they can use this particular publish invoice setting to send the information to external system. So what is meant by at collection and at creation? At collection is nothing but once the amount is collected, we want to publish. At creation is nothing but the minute invoice is created, we are publishing. Okay. So whenever you want to publish an invoice, you can do that at the creation itself or at the collection itself. And how this particular publish will be done? So as part of our process modeling, order fulfillment, we have an transaction called as send invoice. Okay, so this particular agent, you have to configure agent here. This particular agent, it's a time triggered, but it's not task based. Okay, it's a time triggered transaction. This particular agent, it will be keep on checking. Okay, if you are giving it as at creation, what it will do, it will try to check if there is any invoice created just now. That invoice will be taken and it will publish the invoice details to external system. In order to have the publish, you have to make this event as active. Once you make the active, you can have your action or anything here. In that particular action, you can push the message to the queue, which is consumed by the external system. So that is what the publish invoice or send invoice mean. Okay, you can have creation, collection, or you don't have to publish also. It's not always needed that you publish it, but 90% of projects, they do the publish invoice thing. Okay, I'll just give it as publish invoice at creation. So there are certain details which they are asking. Let us see one by one. Allow immediate refund from hold amount. Whether you should allow immediate refunds or not. Like any order which is created by this particular payment rule, whether the immediate refund has to be done or not, that you can choose here. And you can see whenever I'm using immediate refund, it is asking, it is like disabling this particular option. This is called as deferred credit on refund required. So deferred credit is nothing but whenever an order is placed and we have to process some refund for that particular order, whether we can defer the existing credit or whether we have to refund immediately, that we have to decide. I mean, like what is meant by deferred credit is like, for example, I have placed an order for $100 and uh, out of $100, only $20 has to be refunded because I have cancelled my, or else I can say I placed for 10 quantity and I have returned only 2 quantity. So the amount has to be returned is will be only $20. So in those kind of situation, you can allow the immediate refund or you can do defer credit. Deferred credit is nothing but they will reduce my order total itself. Like before even crediting or before even deducting the amount, they will do that. But yeah, like these options are not used in any projects. So we can just ignore just for knowledge purpose, we can see. There is something called as collect externally through accounts. So this particular option is used whenever you are doing net banking. You remember, like whenever you are placing an order in Amazon, Flipkart, there are certain different payment options they provide. Like they provide credit card, debit card, UPI, and net banking. So whenever you are using net banking, what happens? It will directly redirect to your banking website. They will ask you to log in. They will ask you to provide all the customer ID, customer ID, password, and all related to that particular bank. And you will collect the amount using account. So this collect externally through account is basically used whenever you are giving the net banking information. And customer account maintained internally. So This is one other what do you call that use case scenario where we maintain the customer amount information, and this is not done for end customer. Like for example, people like us, business to customer, B2C, they don't use this customer account maintained internally. Why they don't? Because any customer who comes to us, he may not come back after, like he may not come back also to place an order. But this particular option is used in B2B. B2B is business to business, so where they will have recurring orders every now and then. Like today, every week they'll place orders, every day they'll place orders. So in those kind of cases, they will use this customer account maintained internally. Settlement required or not. Settlement required or not is nothing but, as we have discussed earlier, it's not that everything has to be done in sterling. Like for example, you can have both authorization, settlement, and invoice in sterling, or you can have only settlement in sterling where the authorization is done in the front end system, or you can have authorization done in sterling and settlement done in external system. As I mentioned, right, like in some projects they will do the settlement outside the sterling system. So likewise, you have to mention whether the settlement is required or not. Okay, there is some option called as ignore payment status for purge. So as we already discussed yesterday, purge is nothing but moving the unwanted data to history table or deleting the unwanted data. So basically, whenever we are deleting the unwanted data, we will not delete just the older data, but we will check whether that particular order or whether that particular payment is already processed or not. Anything which is not processed, we will not purge because that particular process is not yet completed. So if you want to ignore the payment status, you can use this particular option. And the last one is authorization required. So yeah, whether if you want to do the authorization in sterling, you have to use this particular authorization required option. But if you see, whenever I'm selecting authorization required, it is enabling reauthorization for me. Okay, so now let us see what is a reauthorization here. First option is and you can see it is a radio button. You can't select more than one. Okay, so here we are defining logic for reauthorization. So reauthorization is, first thing is authorize before scheduling and reauthorize on expiration. Okay, so that is the scenario what we have discussed so far. The authorization has to be done before scheduling and it will reauthorize whenever it gets expired. So that is the first option. Second option, authorize before scheduling and reauthorize on expiration until 5 hours before release date or 5 hours before promise appointment start date for services. So why we are doing this? Let us assume the maximum days we get for auth expiry is only 4 days. Okay. I placed an order today, that is on February 16th, and whenever the authorization is done, auth expiry will be on February 20. Okay. For example, I don't have the enough inventory and I'll get my inventory only on March 1st. So basically I need 15 days to process this order. So first, what happens on Feb 16th? I'll place the order. Okay, and by Feb 20, sorry, Feb 16th, I place an order. Feb 20, auth will be expired. Okay, and again, what I'll do? Again, I'll get a new authorization that will expire on Feb 24th. Okay, new auth and expires on Feb 28. It will get expired. Like basically, 4 days I am getting, and this will expire in March 2nd, something like this. So in order to process one order, which is placed today, I am doing multiple authorization calls. Okay, I'm doing authorization, what you call that, reauthorization, reverse authorization, everything. In order to avoid these many calls, what we can do is first once authorization we will take. That is on February 16th we will take the authorization. And even if it expires, I'll not do the reauthorization immediately. I'll do the reauthorization just 5 hours before the release date. Before the release date is nothing but on March 1st, I know that my inventory will come and order will get scheduled. Just 5 hours or 10 hours or 12 hours before that particular time, I'll do a reauthorization. So now what is happening? I am avoiding extra authorization calls. Okay, so whenever you are making the first option, it is taking multiple authorization calls. Unless it is processed, you will be keep on what you call reauthorizing. Whereas here, you will reauthorize only before 5 or 6 hours or 10 hours, 12 hours, 14 hours, whatever it is. So that is the difference between first option and second option. What is the third option? Third option is delay authorization until 5 hours or 10 hours. What does this mean? This means that I'll not take authorization itself upfront. Like how we am taking, right? Once the order is created, I'm taking authorization and all. I'll not take the authorization at all. I'll wait until 5 hours before the authorization, then I'll do the authorization call. Okay, so these are the different options we have for reauthorization, and many projects uses this one or this one because this delay, right, it is something very peculiar because you are processing the order till release. I mean, like you are scheduling the order and all. So in order to avoid that, many people will use this or this option, mostly the second option, because you will get to know whether the authorization is successful or not upfront, and you can process the orders. Okay, so this is on the payment rule. Any doubts so far?
Okay.
Okay, now coming to payment type. So payment type, as we discussed already, we can have check, credit card, customer account, gift card, prepaid, refund, n number of payment types. Okay, so now let us see credit card. So whenever the payment type is credit card, you can select, there is something called as payment type group. Okay, I'll try to do something. Okay, we will try to create a new payment type. Then we will understand more detail. Payment types, create a payment type. So I want to create a credit card payment type. Okay, credit card payment type. And here you can see there are 5 groups. Whichever the payment type you are going to create, that payment type has to fall in one of this particular 5, because these are the only 5 payment types which are provided by Sterling Order Management System. If you're creating a credit card, then it goes to credit card. If you're creating a debit card, then it goes to debit card. If you're creating customer account, I mean, like you can say the net banking thing, then it goes to customer account. If you're going for some gift card, gift coupon, or discount coupon, all those things will come under store value card. Okay. If you want to use PayPal, let us assume PayPal. PayPal is not a payment type group here. Or if you want to use what Apple Pay, okay, those things are not present. So anything which is not present here, you can use other. Okay, so any payment type we are configuring, it should fall on these 5 payment type groups, and this is very important information, guys. We will discuss again on this in the next what you call things which we are going to discuss today. Okay, So for example, I'm creating credit card, let us assume, and I'm giving credit card. You can give the description whatever you want. The minute you click on save, it will give a lot more options. So charge sequence. What is meant by charge sequence? Whenever you are placing an order, you can place an order with multiple charge types. For example, I have only $100 in my credit card. Okay. And I have $100 gift card coupon. Okay. I can use to both of these to process my $200 order. So my order total is $200. $200. I can use $100 for I can pay $100 using credit card, and the rest $100 I'll use my credit card to pay. Right, I can do that, right? So which should be first used? I mean, if you give the charge sequence as 0 or 1 for gift card, and if you give the charge sequence as 4 or 5 for the credit card, anytime any order comes with both of these payment types, then first, because the charge sequence is less for gift card, first they will try to deduct the amount from gift card, then they will deduct the amount from credit card. So that is the charge sequence. Charge sequence is nothing but which one you want to deduct or amount, use the payment type first. And cashback limit, there should be some limit for cashback, because we can't have the cashback on unlimited, right? So that's what is cashback limit here. And charge up to available, whether you want to charge whatever you have. Processing not required, payment void supported. So whenever you are giving processing not required, then it will go for, there will be no payment processing done on this particular order. It will be just like a dummy things will happen. So that is processing not required. Payment void support, the authorization whatever we are doing, whether you want to void it or not, whether it is supported or not, you can use that. And charge instead of authorize, what is meant by this charge instead of authorize? So charge here is nothing but settlement. Okay. So in some cases you don't do authorization at all, you will directly go to settlement. So in those kind of situations it is charge instead of authorization. And whether partial reversal is supported or not, in order to reverse whatever you have excess authorization and all, you can use this partial reversal. If you do not reverse authorization, then you will not have this partial authorization reversal. Reverse authorization when expired, when an authorization is reversed, you have to, sorry, whenever authorization is expired, you have to reverse it, right? So this option will tell when to reverse the authorization. I mean, like, as I was mentioning, right, if the authorization is expired, you have to reverse authorization and all. So for that, you don't have to write any code and all. You can directly just tell, I want to reverse the authorization whenever it is expired. You can do that. Okay. So hours before auth expire, like for example, you don't want to wait until the last minute of auth expiry. What happens sometimes, your auth will be expired and you will try to get new authorization, and that new authorization may fail for a number of reasons. So for that reason, you can do authorization before expired, like 5 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours before the auth expire. And hours authorization can still be reversed, like how many hours after the auth expiry it can be reversed. Allow authorization to exceed, I mean, like, if you want to authorize more than whatever is the settlement amount, you can use support zero amount authorization. What is meant by zero amount authorization? This is called as $0 authorization also. So whenever the what you call order is placed, we can have something called as $0 authorization. What is meant by $0 authorization is, in order to get the payment information, I mean, like, some payment information is present, uh, some payment details are present, whether that particular payment details are valid or not, we can make a $0 call so that we will get the response back whether that particular payment details are valid or not. So that is nothing but the $0 authorization. And charge consolidation allowed. So for example, I placed an order for two orders. I have placed one order is $10, second order is $20. So while deducting the amount, you can wait for this particular two orders to consolidate. So there are many things which are not used in general. In general, people uses only this particular reverse when expired, and they will allow authorization to exceed settlement request. These are the only two things which people uses. Okay. And if you want to allow the credit card for refund, you can currently you can see there is nothing enabled here. The minute you see it will be enabled. And if you want to return to the same payment method, no need of any extra information. If you want to refund to the new payment method, like for example, I placed an order with credit card. Okay. And whenever I cancel my order, I don't want to give refund to my customer in credit card. I want to give him some gift card. I don't want like a credit card to be given back. I mean like amount to be given back. So that thing can be used here. Okay. So yeah guys, like all this each and every configuration thing, as I mentioned earlier also, you will have the knowledge center. You can go through each of it. Okay. And the last one is the payment card type. That is the Visa card, debit card, what you call that. Don't have it. Okay, I'll just create a payment card type. So I'll just give it as Visa, payment type, credit card. Visa. I'll just click on save. So this is how the credit card type is configured. For example, one particular credit card can have multiple credit card types, kind of Visa, Discovery, and all stuff. So whether you want to have partial reversal supported or not for this particular card type, right? Whether you want to use it from the payment type, whatever it is, or whether you want to know yes, whether you want to partial reversal, use same authorization, charge consolidation, all those things are present here. It is more or less the same thing, whatever we have as part of the payment type or payment rule, but whether this particular credit card type uses that or not is the question here. Okay, so these are all the configurations what we have for payment. Any doubts so far? I know it is a little bouncing because it is something new for you guys. I want you guys to go through this and come back again. So any doubts so far?
No, then.
Okay. So the last thing is on the technical thing, like how to implement the payment integration and how to implement the payment configuration. Uh, Let us take some 3-4 minutes of break. Like even I have to, whatever, I couldn't talk so long. So we will be back at 8:25. Within 4 minutes, I'll be back. Then we will discuss on the technical stuff. Hope that is fine, guys. Abhishek, no.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes, bro.
okay. I'll be back in some 4 minutes, 3-4 minutes. Okay. Okay. Thanks. Hi guys. Yes, am I audible?
Yes, Pradeep.
Yes,
Yeah,
brother.
awesome. So, coming to the technical information, we have two different APIs, that is request collection and execute collection. So, whenever, okay, it is two APIs which we have, but it is a three-step process. That is, we have request collection, execute collection, then request collection. Don't get confused, I'll explain. So you have these two APIs which are used for payment. But in order to process one payment, it needs three steps. That is, first it has to invoke request collection, then it has to invoke execute collection, then it has to invoke request collection again. So the agent or the transaction we have for request collection is payment collection agent or transaction. And the agent or transaction which we have for execute collection is payment execution agent or transaction. Okay, so in order to invoke schedule order transaction, we have schedule order API. The same way, in order to invoke this particular transaction or agent, we have these particular APIs. So now let us understand what is request collection, what is execute collection, and what is this three-step process. First, request collection. Request collection is nothing but this particular API will check if there are any open orders to process payment. Either it can be authorization or it can be settlement. So the minute I create an order, okay, my Sterling order management system will create a record in YFS charge transaction table. I create an order for $100, then this particular table will have create order record inserted with $100 and it will be in open status. The minute request collection agent sees there is an order in create order status which is in open status, it will create corresponding authorization record for $100 in open status. And what it will do? It will mark, okay, I'll do that something like this. So initially order is created for $100. Then in YFS charge transaction table, you will see the create order record in open status. Then payment collection agent is running. That is nothing but the request collection. Okay, it is running. The minute it is running, it will go and see that okay, there is an order created by Pawan and it has to be processed. So what it will do? Okay, I'll process it. So it will mark the create order record as checked. There is a status called as checked status. So system has created the create order record and payment collection agent went and checked that okay, there is an order. Okay, I'll do this. I have taken this particular order, I'll process it. So what it will do, it will mark the create order as checked status and it will open an authorization record mentioning that okay, create order is completed, fine, now we have to process authorization on this particular order. So it will create an authorization record. Once the authorization record is created, Now the job is for payment execution agent. So what is meant by payment execution? That is execute collection. So even when this particular agent is picking, this will be create order will be already checked. Checked is nothing but completed. So create order will be still in checked status while the payment execution agent is processing. Payment execution is something which will invoke the external system. External payment gateway get the required output, whether the authorization ID or whatever it is. It gets all that information and it will mark the authorization record as closed. Okay, once that is done, again payment collection will come into picture. That is our request collection will come into picture. As we have already got the payment information, this particular request collection will mark the authorization also checked, and it will also updates the order status to order payment status to
Paid.
authorized. Authorized, it is not yet paid, it is just authorized, right? Paid will be after settlement, that is at the end.
Okay, this is initial authorization.
Initial authorization. So whatever we have seen so far is only for authorization.
Oh,
Okay, so it is a three-step process. I'll repeat once again. First step is request collection, second step is execute collection, third step is request collection. So request collection, it has nothing to do with payment gateway. It has no integration with payment gateway. Request collection is something which will do the job within OMS. What is its job? It has to check whether there is any open orders. If there are any open orders, then it has to initiate the authorization. Okay, and once it initiates the authorization, it will create an authorization in open status. And once the authorization is initiated, then it is the job of execution agent to take it up. And this particular payment execution, it is an agent, it has certain user exits where we will invoke the external system, get the required authorization done, then we will mark the authorization as closed status, and we will also mark the auth id and auth expiry date. All those things we will get right. So all this information will be stamped in the YFS charge transaction table. And once this authorization is completed, I mean like it is closed status, then request collection again it has to update the system, right? Like the okay, for this particular order I have opened an authorization and that particular authorization is checked now, so you can mark the order status as authorized. Okay, so request collection will just do the job within OMS. Execute collection is something which will make a call to the payment gateway, get the response back. Okay, so this is how the authorization is done technically. Any doubts so far? Great. Now let us see what is the execute collection, because request collection we are not doing anything. It is out of the box. We don't have to do any changes in request collection. In any project request collection they do any no changes at all. Execute collection is the place where the implementation of payment, the core implementation of payment is present. And what is the implementation? Invoking the payment gateway, getting the response back is done as part of execute collection. Let us go and see what is execute collection. Okay. As part of this particular execute collection, we have 5 different user exits. Okay, you can see the first user exit is collection credit card user exit, collection customer account user exit, collection others, collection store value, collection debit card. If you guys remember, whenever we are creating a payment type, right? Whenever you are creating a payment type, here we are giving payment type group. You remember I was mentioning these are the 5 different payment type groups which are provided by Sterling Order Management System. So for example, I'm creating a PayPal, right? And I give the payment type group as other. Whenever I'm doing something like this, whenever an order comes to Sterling Order Management System with payment type as PayPal, then it will go and invoke this other user exit. Other is nothing but this collection others user exit. And as part of this collection others user exit, there is a method collection others which you have to implement. And as part of that particular collection others method, you can write your Java code to invoke the payment gateway and get the response back. So likewise, if you are having credit card, then you will create the payment type for credit card and you will get the order with payment type as credit card. Okay, then what happens, it has to invoke the collection credit card user exit, and you will have collection credit card method, and as part of that method you will invoke the payment gateway, get the response back. Okay, so this is how the execute collection will make a call to payment gateway and get the response back. And one other thing, as part of the execute collection, you have 5 different user exits, right? And all these 5 user exits, they don't accept they don't accept XML as input. You guys remember earlier, whenever we are creating the user exit for create order, we have seen 2 different user exits. One is get order number user exit, the other one is before create order user exit. Before create order user exit is something which will take the XML as input, but get order number will not take XML as user exit. Likewise, here also for all the user exits, you will have something called as instruct or input struct. This is an object of payment collection. So here you will have all the details. I mean, like all the strings which are sent as part of the input. So basically here it is not XML. Okay. Now let us see how we can implement any one user exit. Like I have already written a very simple Java code for collection credit card user exit. Let us see what it is. So you can see I have written something called as collection credit card user exit implementation. And here, what am I doing? I am implementing YFS collection credit card user exit. Right? I'm implement. It is an interface class, so I have to implement it. The minute I implement it, it will ask me to override the collection credit card method. So I have used it. And after that, I have just given some sysout statements just to understand what is happening inside. And if the payment type is credit card and if the charge type is authorization, so what is meant by this charge type? Charge type is nothing but this one. Here the charge type is create order, here the charge type is authorization. So basically charge type is a column in YFS charge transaction table. Okay, so whenever the invocation comes to this particular class, and if the invocation is for authorization, because tomorrow for settlement also it has to go through the same user exit, right? So whenever it is authorization, what am I doing? I am giving whatever the amount I am getting as authorization amount. It's basically I am just setting the values for the output. You can see whenever auth expiry date I gave 2500 January 1st. It's something like my authorization will never get expired. If you want, you can give some 5 days, 6 days, or whatever it is. Ideally, this is not how it should be implemented. You have to create an input send it to the external system, get the response, and after getting the response, you have to set all the values to output. But as I don't have any external system in my local, I am mocking the response. So directly, like, I'm stamping some hard coded values everywhere. You can see collection date, I'm just giving some new date. Execution date, I'm giving some new date. Authorization amount, I'm telling whatever I'm getting in the input, that is my authorization amount. And whether it is approved or not, I'm marking it as approved. Authorization expiry date, right? I'm just giving to 2500. Authorization ID, this is some random number generation. So ideally, in this particular interface, we create the input to payment gateway, we get the response, then we will stamp all these values on the output. But here I don't have any external system, so I'm just stamping the success. Always it will be success in my case. Okay, is that clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
Abhishek and Noor?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now what I'll do, we will create an order and we will see how that gets processed. So this is the order XML which we are already using from many days, and I'm not sure whether you guys have observed, there is payment method information already on this particular order. So whenever the order is created, this is the payment information which we get. And if you see, I'm taking credit card expiry date, credit card number, credit card type, credit card, this is a CVV, and first name, last name, payment type, what is the payment type, and what is the bill to address. So this is the basic information which we get for the payment. And whenever you are placing an order, we will be invoking the create order API. So the create order API, this is the input XML. We have something called as payment rule ID. Okay, so whenever the order is creating, we have to pass this payment rule ID. And if you don't pass this payment rule ID, as we discussed earlier, whatever the payment rule which is present at the default level, I mean, like, as part of this payment processing, I have given some default payment rule as matrix default. So whatever I'm using here, it will be automatically taken. Okay, so now in this, I'm not giving any payment rule ID. Let us see what it will take. So I'm creating this particular order. 1 second. I'll just have to, what is this? This is payment execution. I'll just stop all my servers so that, like, it will not get processed. Payment execution is stopped. This is, what is this? This is payment collection. Let me stop this also. Payment collection is also stopped. This is my app server. This is my build server. Okay. Now I am creating an order. This is my order XML. Working. Create order API. Password. Okay. I'm invoking create order API. Ideally, what should happen? The minute I create the order, it should create a create order record in open status in YFS charge transaction table. Let us do that. I create an order. This is my order number or order header key I'll take. I'm going to my database, select start from IFS charge transaction where order header key equal to, you can see it has created a record with charge type as create order and status as open. My book amount is order total. Okay, so now what should happen? Basically, my payment agents will be running always in any other project. I mean, if you go to any project, there the agents will be always running. So the same way, Here also, let us start my payment collection. 1 second. Payment collection is nothing but request collection agent or request collection API. So I'm starting my payment collection agent. So the minute I start the payment collection agent, what should happen? It should process my create order record, and it should create an authorization open status, and it should stamp the create order as checked status. Okay, before we do all that, let us see the order in our console also. So if you see the order here, oh sorry guys, maybe we have to resolve this hold is resolved, and status is in await authorization. The payment status is in await authorization. So now let me start my payment collection agent. So my agent is started. Just taking time to, okay, you can see my create order is processed and it is moved to checked status. A new record authorization is created, and this authorization is in open status. For now, I'll just stop my agent so that it will not process immediately once the payment is collected. So my payment collection, I have stopped it. So what should be the next step? It will be execute collection. Execute collection, it will invoke the external system, get the auth ID, auth expiry date and all stuff. So right now, if you see for the authorization record, the authorization ID is blank, and auth expiry date, you can see it is February 16th. So this will get updated. So now let us start my payment execution agent. Okay, you can see it has reached my Java code. So my Java code, what it is having, collection credit card method start. You can see collection method start, and credit card number is so and so, payment type is so and so. You can see credit card number is so and so, payment type is so and so. Okay, so it has reached, and now what should happen? The authorization should be moved to closed status, and it should stamp the auth ID, auth expiry and all. So if you see, authorization is moved to closed status, and it has stamped some authorization ID. Okay, and it has also stamped the auth expiration date. It is 2500-0101. Okay, so that is how the payment gateway invocation is done by payment execution agent. Now the next thing will be payment collection. So let me start my payment collection once again. So now in the last minute, what should happen? The payment status should get updated. Let us see. And also it should update the authorization status to checked. Just take time. You can see the payment status has moved to authorized status. So I'll stop my agent. I'll stop my payment collection agent also. So like basically we should not stop it, or like there is no use of stopping it, but if we are not stopping, right, it will keep on processing. Like you will not see these intermediate statuses, it will be processed faster. So that's the reason why I'm showing it. So you can see the authorization is moved to checked status, and even the order status moved to authorized status. Is that clear, guys, so far?
Yes, brother.
Okay. So after this order has to be scheduled and all stuff. Okay. So let us try to schedule the order. Let us release the order. And as we discussed, after release, we have to create the shipment on the order. So I'm creating a shipment. Okay. And after shipment creation, we can confirm shipment. So the minute you do the confirm shipment, the order is moved to shipped status. In general, they can do like there are many ways we can do the shipment shipped. Like after release, we send the message to warehouse, and warehouse people will do the creation of shipment and confirmation of the shipment. It can be a number of steps, but in general, whatever we have discussed in our previous class, right, like until schedule and release, and after that the creation and confirm shipment can be done in the UI, or you can even use APIs for doing that. It can be done in many ways. Like for example, create shipment can be done here, and confirm shipment using API we can do. Okay, so likewise, n number of ways, but that is the easiest way. So now the shipment is shipped. What is my next step? Once the shipment is shipped, we have to create invoice for that particular shipment or for that particular order. So let me do that. And for that, we have an API called as create order invoice. And this is the input XML what we use. Before I create that particular invoice, let us understand how the settlement happens. So this is for the authorization, right? So in the same way, the minute I create invoice in the same YFS charge transaction table, it will create a record called as order invoice, which is in open status, and it will have $100. That is our order total. This is done by the system whenever I do the create order invoice. Again, the same process. Again, it will be payment collection agent or request collection API will come into the picture, and it will process this particular order invoice. It will understand that okay, there is some order invoice which is in open status, so I have to process that. So they will mark this particular order invoice as checked status. Then it will create a new entry called as charge. As I mentioned, charge is nothing but settlement, and this charge will be in open status with $100. And after that, again, our payment execution agent will come, which will internally invoke the payment gateway system, and it will process the charge. So initially the order invoice is already in checked status, charge will be in closed status. Okay, and the what do you call it, order total will be $100 as is. And whenever it is processing that particular order, what do you call, it will move the order state. Okay, that is in the next step. Like once the third step, that is payment collection or request collection, is being processed, it will mark the charge also to checked status, and it will also mark the payment status of the order to paid. Okay, so this is how the settlement happens. Any doubts on this before we start processing the invoice?
Okay.
Okay, so let us create the invoice. Our document type is 0001, enterprise code is matrix, and order header key we have to give. That is our order header key is this. and we have to give our order number. This is the order number, and here either order line key or prime line number and subline number must be passed. So I'll just give prime line number 1, subline number 1, and my quantity is 4. So I'll just give the quantity 4. So this is the input which we use for create order invoice. Let us do that. So I'll just invoke create order invoice. So the minute I do this, as we discussed, there should be a new record created in YFS charge transaction table, which is order invoice, which is in open status, and it will have the required amount information. And if you see, even on that particular order, you can see that there is an invoice created. An invoice is created, which is of $32. Sorry, invoice number is 32, which is of $59.96. So now, next thing what should happen? It should, again, our payment collection, payment execution, payment collection will come into picture. So now let us start one by one. Okay, here already we have it, I guess, right? So I'm starting my payment collection. So payment collection is started. Let us see. Okay, you can see order invoice is marked as checked, and it has created a new record called as charge in open status, which is having the same amount and it is having the same authorization ID, because we have to process the settlement using the same order authorization ID. So I'll just stop this. Now, what will be my next step? The payment execution. So I'm just going and starting the payment execution. The minute I invoke the payment execution, it has to come back to my user exit again, and this time it will not enter this block of the code because it is not authorization. This time it is charge. Charge is nothing but this particular block of the code where we are again setting the required things onto the output struct or output of the user exit. Then we are processing the order. So now let us see. You can see the charge is moved to closed status, and it is updated by payment execution agent. So now coming to my last step, that is our payment collection. So let me start the payment collection agent again. So this time what should happen? This particular charge record has to be moved to closed, and my payment status on the order should move to paid status. Let us wait for that. Let me see. Excellent. Okay, charge is moved to checked status. Let us see the order. It is moved to paid status. So this is how the entire order payment works. Like the main implementation, whatever we do, that will be part of the payment collection, credit card user exit or debit card user exit, other user exit or whatever it is. And in order to process all this, we should have the respective payment type configured, respective payment rule configured, respective credit card type configured, and all the configurations whatever we have seen today. Okay, and okay, so before I jump, right, like any doubts on whatever we have discussed so far? I'll try to share this code. You guys can try to implement it. Okay, and along with that, I do have a document. I can say it is a little older document, but that may help you guys in understanding a little detail. This one, yeah. Let me open this. So this is very old document. You might get confused also in some places because whatever the payment configurations mentioned here, right? Like for example, this is what you call that allow payment processing and all, right? So these configurations are not present at this point of time. I mean, like for example, this configuration is not present, but this configuration is still present. Like this is what we have discussed today. Whenever it is a seller, you have to use this payment processing and default payment rule, and also the payment rule configuration, right? Like whatever we have seen as part of SPC earlier, it was present as part of our configurator. You guys are able to understand, right? Like this screen is configurator screen. Okay, right now this particular payment rule is not present in the configurator. It is in the SPC. Okay, let me show you find payment rule. The place where we configure is modified, but it is the same. So if you go to matrix rule, you can see the same thing. Deferred credit amount, allow immediate refund, settlement required, authorization required. This is reauthorization concept. Everything is same. It is just that the place where we configure is changed. It is basically this document is very old. You can see it is from 2011-12 years. Okay, I'll share this, but however, like the meaning of the configuration has not changed. Like you can see the publish invoice either at collection or at creation. This is used by send invoice agent to determine when to send an invoice. Collect external, merchant ID, deferred credit, customer account maintained internally. Like whatever we have seen, it is present here. So I'll just share this, go through this. If there is any things to discuss, we can talk. Okay. And at the same time, there is one particular diagram which will help in understanding. Yeah, this one. So you can see the minute order is created, the payment status will be in await auth status. Okay. And it will create a create order record in open status. And a request collection comes, it will mark the create order as checked and it will open an authorization open status. Then execute collection happens. Then authorization will be in closed status and auth expiry date and all will be set. And once the request collection happens, authorization is moved to checked and auth expiry date and all are already set and it is moving the order to authorized status. Once you release the order and you create a shipment, you can do the confirm shipment, then order is in authorized and shipped status. Then you do okay, in our case we did create order invoice. There is one more API called as create shipment invoice also. You can use either of it. Why there is two? Okay, in an order you can have more than one shipment. Like for example, I take the same example always. I placed an order for Nike shoes and Adidas shoes, and if I want to charge the customer once the order is in shipped status, today Nike shoe is getting shipped, but Adidas shoes will take 3-4 days more. I can't charge the customer for Adidas shoes today. So in order to avoid that, if you want to charge the customer based on the shipment, you can use create shipment invoice. If you want the, like for example, in your project there is no multiple shipment logic at all, and you want to create the invoice at the order level, you can use create order invoice. It can be anything. The only difference will be if you are using create order invoice, this record will be order invoice. If you are using create shipment invoice, this record will be shipment. So if you see, it is shipment in open status, and after that charge in open status, then charge in closed status, then charge in checked status. Maybe like on Monday I can show you guys how exactly the create shipment invoice works. Then we will see this one other flow also. This is a diagram which helps throughout the payment process. Like even tomorrow, if you have any doubt, you come here and you can see what is happening. You will understand. Okay, so there is many other things which are related to that payment. I'll share this document with you guys. Go through this. If there is anything you guys want to discuss, we can discuss as part of this session or like personally also. Okay, that's all I had for the day, guys, on the payment. If you guys have any doubts, questions, clarifications, we can discuss. I'll be here maybe for next 22 minutes. If you want, we can discuss. Else, we'll connect back on Monday and we'll continue our session. I'll share this document and the Java code, whatever I have written, as part of the email. You guys can go through it.
You share, can you share those like load inventory, like we discussed, right? Load inventory mismatch and
Okay.
inventory
I,
sync, those
one
like input
second.
actually, input
Did
XML,
I miss that? One
the end of
second.
message and the enter ID, the inventory file message, right?
Oh, that inventory sync I have not sent.
Yeah, that one you did not send. And